Welcome to a Nerd Odyssey. I am Dalt. We heard the big news, arguably the biggest news from the Game of the Year awards. 2025 was, of course, the big drop. Fate of the Old Republic, FOTOR for short. This was massive. And we heard that Casey Hudson is back as the lead developer. He was ultimately responsible. He was the director for Knights of the Old Republic, the first game in the series, right? And he was involved in the Mass Effect series, big games there. So shout out to him.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to be excited about that he's back. But here's the thing.
It's the best part.
It's going to be developed by Arcanaut Studios. Arcanaut, I think is how you say it. In collaboration with Lucasfilm Games, of course. If you've never heard of them, guess what? They just formed July 2025, and this is their first game. Yeah. So we got some questions. We got some things to cover. I have Kernick with me. Kernick, welcome back, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're like you're my KotOR expert.
We've been best friends since first grade.
We've been best friends since first grade. We've been playing KotOR since 2001.
I'm your Mortal Kombat 2 expert. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
How many KotOR hours do you think you've put in total?
Oh God, I don't know. I've beaten the game 100 times, so I don't know. I've started the game probably 1,000 times, and I've beat it 100 times. So I've done Terrace 1,000 times.
That's pretty impressive. You've done a couple streams on it, and also I wanted to say we'll talk about Fate of the Old Republic, but on the KotOR subreddit, Knights of the Old Republic subreddit, dude, shout out to you. All through December, up until Christmas, an Advent-style countdown, 25 reasons why KotOR is the greatest RPG of all time. Well done, dude. Amazing essays,
I don't know what the fuck I was thinking.
Well written.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Why? What do you mean?
It was just so stressful, sort of, actually, to be honest with you. It was like a fun idea, because I already had,
they
like,
were pretty long essays.
Yeah, I had like 8 or 10 of them already written, sort of, like, that I did when I first started doing, like, creative writing, like, years before the pandemic. But, like, that's what I was like, oh, I can do it. I could do 25 easy. And then, like, every day I was like, remember, we were even at the Flyers game the one day. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do tomorrow? I had them all mapped out. I mean, it was all, like, really planned out. But, like, I definitely stressed a couple times. But no, they were really.
So they're under, is it Wisecracks that it's under?
Yeah, WIZECRAX Wisecracks.
All right, so I'll share the link. I'll share the link for the Reddit with all of them.
I'm very proud of them, to be fair.
They're
very. I even put at the end, it's a definitive argument. Thousands and thousands of words of why I think it's the greatest RPG ever made. I literally define what I mean by great. I mean, I go ins and outs of every single aspect of the game. I had entire essays about single characters, single planets. It was pretty in depth.
Wow.
Just because what they say when you start doing creative writing stuff, they were like, write about what you know. And I was like, well, I don't know much else besides KotOR. So.
Certainly no KotOR. And here is what we know about Fate of the Old Republic. It is a single-player, narrative-driven RPG.
Only to cut you off, I started releasing these essays before the game was announced. Like, it was in the middle of, I was on essay 12.
Mid-December.
Yeah, I was like essay 12 or 13, and like it got released, and I literally was like, what the fuck? It was the will of the Force. So, like, to be fair, it made it look like I was an insider, but like it just was luck, which was kind of hilarious. But yeah, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, but like we don't know anything about the development team ultimately, so maybe one day in the next like 10, 15 years, whenever this game gets released, maybe you can do another 25 essays about why Fate of the Old Republic is the greatest RPG
hopefully,
of all time.
Yeah, you never know.
But hopefully, we'll see. Know. But here's what we know about Fate of the Old Republic, FOTOR, whatever you want to say. It's a single-player, narrative-driven RPG.
Yes.
Not surprising. In the Old Republic era, come on. We all know that. The spiritual successor to Knights of the Old Republic. So it's not Knights 3.
No.
But clearly there's still going to be some connection. And I want to say this because in the trailer, what's the name of the ship? It's Leviathan, right?
Well, it seems like it's the Leviathan. That's what I said right away. That's like, I actually wasn't even watching the Game Awards, but I was getting texts from people just because I'm a KotOR guy for so many people. I was getting texts like live, being like, "Oh, it's KotOR 3!" Oh. So like I watched the trailer immediately on the subreddit, like go up, and I saw it. I actually had a comment on the big, like the original article, being like, it's Saul Kath's flagship. Like, like just kind of joking around, but being
Saul
like, that's
Leviathan flagship,
that's
right?
the Leviathan. Like, you can tell. It's at least that type of cruiser. It's Malik's type of, it's that, it's like, that's how people knew it was from the Old Republic game right away.
Right.
Even if you thought, it's just a spaceship, it could be a space game, but like when you saw that backdrop almost in like that old original Alien movie, kind of
Yeah,
scene.
that ship looks very similar to the
Yeah,
original
or just like that
Alien.
shot
Yes,
where you're
yes.
walking and it's in the background. Like people
It
knew right
has to
away.
be a nod to it. You would think. And
For sure.
did you see? You can see the Gizka, however you say it. There's
I
a little Gizka running around
There's
like
so many people
on the
like that
planet.
have like been like, well, what's this? What's that? And they froze on the whole thing. At the end of the day, dude, it's a trailer of a spaceship flying. A girl gets out. She's walking with some troops. She enters what looks like an old ship, and there's something moving, and it cuts, and
Right.
brings her lightsaber out. So you knew it was a Star Wars game, and then it says Old
Yeah.
Republic. So it's like, now to be fair, it's not KotOR 3 because the MMO kind of is, sadly, some would say not sadly, but I would say sadly, is like KotOR 3. So like this game is going to be, I guess.
Well,
Yeah,
the
I don't know.
MMO was dubbed a spiritual successor as well.
Correct.
Because it was like a, I'm not sure, it was a couple hundred, 1,000. I forget how long after the events of Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, but I think it was like 500 years after. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
After
I think it's
that,
like 300 because there's something, if
Yeah.
I recall, they see Candace's skeleton and he's
you
like,
can see Candace's,
Yeah, it's like
and they
300
did
years
bring
old.
Revan back, which was a controversial piece. I
just-
remember playing Star Wars: The Old Republic MMO when that happened, and I was a little disappointed with the fight and with the ending of it. But anyway,
yeah,
there is a choice in the game. They say there's the destiny, the never ending struggle between light and dark. So you imagine that you get to choose your own path within this narrative, and I really hope that it's canon with the lore and true to the lore of Knights of the Republic 1 and 2. Because number one, we saw the Leviathan. They wouldn't throw that in there if they didn't want you to be like, oh, look, it's the Leviathan. They're it's going to take place after these events. It has to be relatively recently after the events of Knights of the Republic 2, at least. But now we know that Disney has the IP. It has Star Wars, as we all know. And you and I haven't liked what they've done. And Knights of the Republic is a darker series. It's a darker game. So I guess my question, what I'm getting at here is what does Disney have to do to really respect that lore and be canon to the Old Republic?
it's tough, man. It's a big question because there's a lot of like I played the MMO. It's fun. It was cool, and there was a lot of great things about it. But like it did, if you're a hardcore KotOR 1 or 2 fan, it did mess up a lot of the lore.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, it devalued a lot of what the games did, and I don't even want to get too into that, but it made Revan look not as cool, in my opinion, which is hard because Revan's so fucking awesome. What I'm assuming, it's funny you brought up the Disney thing because everybody, whether you liked The Last Jedi or not, and I did not, but if you did, like you can admit Rian Johnson like had a different vision for it. And what they did for the third one, they brought back the director from the first one and essentially said, like, we need you to kind of right this ship. Whether Rian Johnson was the best Star Wars of all time and everything else just wasn't good enough or something, whatever you want to call that. But, like, they kind of said, like, we need you to kind of, like, and get us back to the first one, sort of. So in that same sense, what I'm assuming and what I'm hoping is that
With
the fate of
Casey
the
being
Republic,
back.
with Casey being back, they're going to say, hey, the MMO did some things. We're going to, we need you to kind of, and get us back to that. And why I think that is true. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. One, I just think that that's what they did with the movies, but also I think the best Star Wars product, and I put this in the essays, the best Star Wars product that they put out, that's pretty much what I would say is more like universally loved, is The Mandalorian. I mean, like pretty much everybody liked it. Old school fans loved it. New people loved it. Like that was something that everyone kind of came together and said like, hey, this is good. Mostly everybody. And that game is built straight up on the bones of Knights of the Old Republic. From the
fair
Mandalorian
point.
culture, from all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, the Mandalorian War and stuff.
Yeah, so like whether, and I'm hoping that they realize that the Old Republic is such a good IP, and where they have the benefit is that the game itself is thousands of years before the movies. So even if you went ahead 500, 1,000 years or whatever.
You have a lot of wiggle room
You have so
there.
much wiggle room. You have so much time. It could be 2,000 years
Yeah.
later. I mean, honestly, it's the fate of the Old Republic. So it sounds like it's
Right.
going to be the end of the Old Republic era, which could be hundreds of years, thousands of years after KotOR 1, and it's just
Right.
Revan. You see Revan's influence.
Up to
You
the,
see,
the birth of Darth
yeah,
Bane or whatever.
It could be
where
like the Mandalorian
new
Wars
king-
or Egyptian Wars to us. You know what I mean? It could be like
Right.
just like, so
Do you think they should do that? Do you think it should be more like a Knights 3? Like should take place maybe 10 years, 100 years after Knights of the Old Republic 2? Or do you think it should be kind of a separate little storyline?
I mean, to be fair, like this is the part where the most frustrating thing for me that happened with Star Wars in the last bunch of decades, was when Disney took the EU, because those novels, I love them. I grew up reading them. When they just said like, "Oh, that's fake."
You're talking about the novels after the movies, after the original
yeah, or
three
like
movies.
from the 80s, from the 90s, like the novels that were written about, like the
Star
Han
Wars.
Solo movies, or the Han Solo
Yeah.
books, or Tales of the Jedi, whatever, like
Yes,
stuff that
gotcha.
fleshed out the universe, or the post Return of the Jedi content, like the stuff that we all thought when Disney bought Star Wars they were going to lean into, be like, wow, they have so much content here, but they kind of just said like, hey, all that's what they call legends now, and we're going to write our new way, which I thought was stupid,
Yeah.
but it was clear to me that that was evidence that they had their own agenda and their own thing to do, and that's whatever. I'm not going down that road. We're talking about KotOR. But in that same sense, the reason I'm bringing that up is like, I don't want them, because I want to be consistent with my beliefs here. I don't want them to just act like the MMO doesn't exist. Sadly, whether or not I agree with what the MMO did, it does exist, and I don't want it to just be this floating thing that is this alternative Earth 2, what Marvel did, and I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, sadly, the damage has been done in some ways, I think, would argue, and they're just gonna. I would rather them jump 500 years into the future and explain how the MMO kind of, maybe was, how like, I'm just, like, get us back to like a good fucking storyline about how Revan had to go into the unknown regions because he realized that the Sith, the actual Sith, the race of the Sith, were the real threat. They were the ones that got the Mandalorians to push the war.
Yeah, this is. I want you to continue. This is Knights of the Old Republic 2, right?
Well, yeah. So without spoilers. If you've never played the games,
Spoilers.
Stop
Yeah,
listening.
let's give spoilers.
Stop listening. The end of the first game is, Revan comes back, whatever. KotOR 2, Revan's not in it, but he dominates the storyline anyway, in the fact that,
he's
everything he's
sprinkled throughout
done,
the whole story.
has affected everybody and whatever. But you find out, if you dig deep enough into T3 and all kinds of shit, you can find out that he left for the unknown regions, which literally means that outside the galaxy, like there's no charted maps. Candace refers to that as a suicidal, to go into the void, he calls it.
The void,
whatever. It's just, the whole point is that Revan clearly realizes that there's a bigger threat, that it's the actual Sith, that there's like the Sith on Korriban, these are fucking jokesters, this isn't the real shit, that there's actual people, and he realized that that's actually the group that convinced the Mandalorians to attack the Republic in the first game, or before the first game, which then led to the Jedi Civil War, which then in KotOR 2 led to like everyone being fucked up, everyone being weak, everyone being dead, and now it's perfect, ripe for the Sith to come and take over. That was essentially the end of KotOR 2. Like, that's what you learned.
Right.
That's where Revan was. It was a mystery. Like, your imagination did all the work, because you didn't know he was out there somewhere. He was doing shit out there somewhere,
Right.
That's where people.
Star Wars, the Old Republic, the MMO, that didn't pick up on that storyline.
It sort of did. Like, that's. I don't even want to get into it, because it actually pains me. But a little bit, it's also like it ruined it. Like, it doesn't make sense now. Like, the real KotOR fans are like, you botched it. Like, you shit from the games now. It doesn't make any sense. So that's where I'm saying, like, the fate of the Old Republic has a lot of work to do, where they have to fix what the MMO did. But where they have the benefit is, it's not going to have to be 5 years later. They can jump ahead 1,000. And they can even say, hey, the MMO, we don't really know what happened because there was a big war. I mean, they can just add a war in between the MMO and this new game, for all we know. And that changes everything about everything about everything. Mm-hmm. And they can say, actually, that, KotOR 1 and 2, they were wrong. But, I mean, who knows? So they have kind of carte blanche to do what they want. That's because the Old Republic era is so long ago, and so long in general. So they have carte blanche. But what I'm hoping they do is I just want them to, without acting like the MMO doesn't exist, because I didn't like when Disney did that to the novels. I didn't like that. So without that, I want them to fix the story. I want them to make Revan's decision seem fucking awesome and cool and revealed into something else. I don't know if it's going to be Revan's story. I doubt it. I don't think it's going to be Bastil's daughter or something. Like, it's going to be, I think, hundreds of years in the future. Because that's to me, if I was going to design the game, that would be the smartest choice, because you get, for Casey, you get actual carte blanche. You don't have to be constrained with what the MMO did. You can move so far ahead and just use that as legends or something of that nature. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that, and to be fair, you mentioned the subreddit. Every day there's people posting about what do you want to see? What do I want to see? So I'm not speaking for everybody when I say this. Like, I've seen a multitude of different opinions and from valid fans, from things that I don't necessarily agree with, or things I do, but are valid. So, like, some people want it to be turn-based still, like the original one, where there's still like animations, but it's essentially D20 D&D turn-based combat. Some people want it to be like what they did with the FF7 remake, where now it's totally different combat. Some people want it to be fucking like Force Unleashed or a Knights or a Jedi Knight series where you're moving the mouse and having lightsaber combat, and which essentially would to me would change the fundamental aspect of everything about the game. So, I think it's already a masterpiece. You don't have to mess with it. Obviously games are different than in 2003, but I think you should really, the fact that they're bringing Casey back, I think they want to embrace what made KotOR 1 such a masterpiece, what gave KotOR 2 the bones to be the almost masterpiece it could have been. I mean, you never know. It was an unfinished, unreleased game.
Unfinished product.
Yeah.
And even the restored content mods for Knights of the Old Republic 2 still don't even really close out the story. So, like, I wonder, like, they say fate of the Old Republic. So is that the fate of Revan and what happened after the events of Knights of the Old Republic 2? Or is this the fate of the entire Old Republic?
Right.
Where Darth Bane emerges from the conflict, and there's a little bit of that lore and storyline, to go into, and that was kind of fleshed out in Star Wars: The Old Republic. But like, there's so many routes they could go, and it's kind of difficult. But so what did happen after Knights of the Old Republic 2? Like, is there a direct line and direct storyline to pick right up off of that? No. Or is it going to have to be later?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you like, listen, if they let's just say for a second that they pull a Disney, but we already know they've done it. Let's just say they say, hey, fuck the Old Republic MMO. It's a separate alternate universe and this has nothing to do with it. And let's say the girl in the trailer is Bastla's kid with Revan that you didn't know was their secret love child. And blah, blah, blah. I mean, it could be for all you know.
Yeah.
Let's say that's the case. I mean, at the end of KotOR 2. I mean, KotOR 2 is a dark tale. That's the other part, too, where I'm nervous. I don't know if Disney's going to embrace a story that dark. I mean, KotOR 2 came out before Disney bought the brand. Way before, So, like, and to be
Crazy
fair.
mean bitch.
Yeah, not many RPGs have ever gone as deep as KotOR 2. Like, I would argue that the gaming, like, the landscape of gaming in general has pulled back. Like maybe Red Dead 2, and there's games that are darker in the sense of more evil and more like grotesque, like Mortal Kombat games. But I mean, like the philosophical levels of darkness in KotOR 2, like in hindsight, in 2004, I'm like, 14, 15. I shouldn't have been playing that game. That was like way too intense. Like, it's like what turns you into a goth kid, But to answer your question, like the story ends with like the Jedi's pretty much gone. Like the exile, your character's pretty much the last one. There's maybe another. Right. You could argue that there's a handful left. Some of them aren't really Jedi or whatever you could argue, but like you killed the Sith Triumvirate. The enemies are done. But like again, it's about how the war that Revan started and the war that Revan ended, we'll call it.
The Mandalorian Wars.
Yeah, like how that just broke the galaxy. And you see how decades later, how it affected everybody, from the soldiers to the towns to the planets to the normal people to the Jedi to the Sith to everybody. And in the end, it's pretty sad. It just like explains how war and death and all the stuff ripples out and affects everybody. And the exile is kind of this gaping wound, this walk. I have actually one of the essays of the 25 is just about him or her, actually, technically.
What? Kreia?
No, the exile. Well, there's one about Kreia too. It actually was the most popular one, the most liked, and the most most people privately messaged me and said this was awesome because I made an essay about how Kreia teaches you, the player, not the player in the game. Like you actually learn. It's almost like, remember we did when we ranked like video game villains and we said Shao Kahn was number one because he not only kicked your ass in the game, he took your money in real life and robbed you and bullied you in the arcades. In the arcades, like robbed your money. Kreia like teaches you in real life, so I kind of went there. But like, KotOR 2 was a very deep and complicated game that like had, in my opinion, the like the KotOR 2 fans are like very sensitive, and I mean that in a nice way. Like they love and support the game so much, and they think they hold it to an incredible.
Some people say it's one of the best storylines ever written in a game ever.
Maybe
you know
it is.
What I mean? I'm not part of that boat. You know what I mean? But it's a great story.
It's incomplete, and it's not fair to even like it's like what that game could have been. It's sad, and that's the other part too. Where like I'm not to be all over the place, but the big issue with this FOTOR release is that there's no dev team yet. It's not like so, and immediately the next few days,
the Arcanaut Studios, and I think that was kind of more of like an ad to be like, hey, come be part of this dev team.
I see. Well, that makes sense. But I guess my point is that there was a big talking point afterwards, within a few days, of like people in development that understand how this stuff works, and they were like, hey, dude, if they don't really have the team assembled, quite frankly, yet this game ain't coming out till 2030, which then caused Casey himself to have to come out and say, hey, it's going to come out before 2030. Now, does that mean December 2029? I mean, we don't know. But like
Right.
my point is though.
Well, I mean, most RPGs are 4, 5
Yeah.
to 10 years.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
So, but here's the problem, though. Like, and the reason I'm looping this back, KotOR 2 was botched because it was released with 16 months of development time, which is absurdly horrible. But it was released too early. It needed at least another year, maybe 2, to become the actual goated RPG it could have been. That I hold it's almost like this damaged potential. That's why it's so sad. The bones of KotOR 2 are incredible, and you can see like right there. I put it much more elegantly in the essay, but like you can see what was great. It was like the blueprints of an amazing cathedral that they just had to abandon. You know what I mean? It's like, it's sad.
Right.
But my point is, because that's the legacy of the KotOR franchise, they're not going to rush this game. And they're not going to release it early. And they're not going to force it down. Like, they're not going to, I don't know. They're going to learn from Cyberpunk.
They haven't rushed anything with Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake.
20 years.
Yeah, the remake in 2021 for PS5 and PC, for the original Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake.
Yeah.
It was development hell. It was originally by Aspire Studios, and then it shifted to Saber Interactive, who I think they have it now. So they still say in 2025 that the Knights of the Old Republic remake is still happening. But we'll see. We're still waiting.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I hear that it might shadow drop, kind of like Oblivion Remaster did.
That would be great.
In
because
May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day.
If they
what
do
better
that,
day to do it?
Now, here's the thing. The rumors originally from the KotOR remake was like 21. So, I mean, that they could have been secretly working on this for years. Yeah, exactly. The problem was they announced it and they attached names to it that people didn't like because they were, whether like they were like a developer that or a writer that was attached to a horrible game or a game they didn't like. Like, people were negative about a lot of the news they were hearing. And not to be fair, like, I know a lot of my friends who loved FF7. I don't know many people that love the FF7 remake over the original. Like, so people are nervous.
Not over the original. Some people like it.
Some people like it. Plenty of people like it. It's a great game.
A lot of people have issues with the story and stuff.
They took too many liberties and like changed the spirit of the game. So I think people are nervous about that with the remakes. But it would make sense that they would shadow drop a KotOR remake or a KotOR 1 and 2 combined remake or something to give us something to play and get excited about, and give fans that never played the original games that would say, oh, the graphics are too old or it doesn't work on my widescreen or whatever reason you give yourself to not go through and play the greatest RPG of all time. But releasing it like that, like Oblivion did, because again, Oblivion's Bethesda, they're just buying themselves time for Elder Scrolls 6, and they're probably testing the new leveling system that they released in the new Oblivion game for the new Elder Scrolls, if I had to guess personally. So what I think they're doing with this, what I would hope they do is they release KotOR 1 and 2 or remake or KotOR 1 at least to build hype and get people excited about the IP while they develop FOTOR.
Well, that's true because Knights of the Republic KotOR is now just really in the news. It's really in the limelight with the FOTOR release, and now with the remake still being talked about now, and people are like, "Yo, what about that remake?" So it's in the news big time. So it has the perfect opportunity to drop and to release.
That's why so many of my essays were like, I had so much reaction, and so many people started following my account and like reaching out to me because it was so many people were coming to the subreddit to read news about that. And I just happened to be in the middle of a series of, hey, here's 25 essays of why the game is the GOAT.
What are the chances of that?
It was just perfect.
You know
it was just literally, I joke, it's the will of the Force, man. It was just like it was meant to be,
So real quick, I wanted to ask you. Write the essay. Yeah, is that Obi-Wan talking to you?
Yeah, the Force will be with you always. Yeah.
So would you rather Fate of the Old Republic be right after the events of KotOR 2? Or would you rather have it be, 1,000 years in the future? What would be your preference? Like a totally separate storyline.
Like I'm saying, if we could go back in time and change what they did to the MMO, I would say I would like it to start 25 years after KotOR 2. Or not even 5 years. And it's Revan is now, it's the unknown regions. It's what we see. Okay. We get to watch that. That would have been my dream. If I could control the weather, that's what I would have done. But where we are currently, where the current landscape is, I want it to be, personally, I would want it to be, I don't give a shit, 1,000 years. Like, I want it to wrap up the Old Republic. It can be, you could give me a story 200 years before the prequel films. You know what I mean? Like right before the new age of the downfall of the Republic or whatever you want to call those prequel films. Like I'll take that. I want them though to just put I want them what I need them to do. I need them to tie a bow on this franchise because to me, the fact that KotOR 2 was treated the way it was treated is a black eye on Star Wars. And because like Star Wars, it's almost like if Return of the Jedi had sucked. Like if you didn't follow up Empire Strikes Back with something almost as good or maybe better, arguably, you were in trouble because Empire was so good.
Empire
so like
was
KotOR
the
1
best
was so
in those
good
movies,
that
yeah.
like it's such a sin that KotOR 2 was released in the fashion it was. Now the restore content dudes have done such a tremendous job. It's almost hard to articulate how good of a job they've done and how much that game is different than it used to be. But like, I want them to fix the franchise. I want the franchise to be perfect at the end. Even with the KotOR 2 stuff, especially if they can remake KotOR 2 and add what the content mod people did.
Yep,
which I
they
know is its
tried.
own- I know.
Yeah, Aspire, who originally had, I just talking about, who was doing the KotOR remake.
Right.
Aspire did try to, because KotOR 1 and 2 are both ported to the Switch. So Aspire tried to incorporate the DLC with the modders, all the restored content mod. But long story short, this is a different video for a different time. Disney got involved.
Yeah.
And their lawyers put pretty much an end to all of it. And something with the modders, they couldn't get all of them. 100% Star Wars is a big channel. 100% Star Wars is called. He has been covering all the remakes, all the news very well. So give that channel a visit. He's really good and really explains it well.
Yeah.
So, but really, it was my understanding that they tried to do it to the Switch too with, or a Switch with KotOR 2, but didn't end up falling through.
It's a similar thing is in like the World of Warcraft when the guys from Nostalrius, who were the first classic WoW server, private server people, they developed
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Blizzard flew them out and had them talk about, which is now classic WoW that they launched, over the pandemic. They had them involved a little bit. But see, the problem is, and I worked for Disney, they are extremely protective and gatekeeping of the IPs, and by inviting people that have affected, like they don't let anyone use their logos or any of their stuff or anything at all. Like really
Right.
strict. So like
Yeah.
like when whatever. So allowing I guess okaying the use of tampering and tinkering with something of their IPs, they probably didn't want to open the floodgates. And
They're
I
like
don't-
Nintendo.
They're like
suing
Nintendo.
Power
It's-
World for Pokemon.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I mean, like that's the way,
Yeah.
like, and whether you like that or not, that's how a big behemoth corporation has to protect their shit. So that doesn't shock me. But at the same time, like what I'm hoping they do is just be like, hey, maybe you don't have to give them a royalty check, but do something. But like you have to, because at the end of the day, it's not like they invented their own. The restore content mod restored content. They didn't create their own shit. They just pulled out what was already there and patched things together. What I put in the essays, I said this, it was narrative surgery. Like they
Yeah.
literally like
Narrative
tied things
surgery.
together.
You're right.
Like like,
That's perfect.
it's the truth.
They had like a voice actor. They had a couple
unbelievable.
people. Like, yeah, they did a really good job with it. So you got to respect them.
You got to respect it. They're the true heroes. I say they're the true heroes of the story. But like my point is, those like you have to bridge this. You have to make a trilogy of games that are perfect, in my opinion. And the MMO can be this other thing out here. That's fine. Maybe it bridges the two games or something. That's Casey's job to figure out. But I just want it. I want it to be like a great ending. I want because there was so much great mystery with Revan and the mystique of like what's he doing out there? What's he gonna find? What
I know.
what is this?
You want that question
Yeah, so I
answered
want that to be
about
answered.
Revan so bad.
And if that's
So
the
bad.
story, then that's great. If it's not the story, if it's 1,000 years in the future and it explains what happened, that's fine. But I just want it to have a bow. I want them to be like, hey, this is Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. Like, boom, end it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
You're
I
right.
just-
Could you imagine it being like a kid of Revan, ambassador, or like Revan? Imagine how epic that would be.
It could-
and
like,
you
listen,
find out what happened.
it could be
You know,
sick.
oh,
It could be sick.
Ugh.
It could be like, oh, this is Candace was banging Bastila the whole time. This is their kid. I mean, I'm kidding, but like, like it could be.
which I wouldn't hate. I'd
Yeah.
play as Candace and
Now, to be
Basile's
fair,
kid.
the Leviathan being crashed, it looks not ancient, but it looks like it's been a while. To be fair, that doesn't look like it's some fresh crash scene. Now, there's things still working inside, but that's Star Wars tech. That wouldn't be that shocking. But like, I'm gonna guess it was a couple hundred years after the MMO, or a few hundred. Like, it's gonna be within 1,000 years of all the IP, but far enough ahead that it's gonna be. We have to discover what happened to these people.
Where did the flagship crash? Do you remember? It wasn't It
Well,
wasn't terrorist.
no, in the game, you don't crash it at all. I mean, like it's just like you
Oh.
kill, you escape. I mean, like Malik, you fight Malik
Oh,
on the
right, right,
Leviathan, you kill Saul, you take his
right.
assassin pistol, which is bomb. But no, but then you fight Malik, and that's where you lose Bastila, and then you escape. But like no, like
Oh, okay.
it's still working. Now,
Okay.
now
All
that
right.
it would imply maybe the light side ending being canon, which is I mean, whatever. Canon is such a stupid word when it comes to a lot of this shit because there's built-in alternate whatevers. But
Right.
it would imply that they lost at some point. That it crashed. It didn't just get decommissioned because the Sith had won or something. I mean, whatever. I don't want to even go down those
Right.
roads.
Hard to
Someone will
say.
be like,
Hard
well,
to say.
technically not really. I don't want to get into that. But like, just I assume that
Yeah.
you're gonna be a badass chick. That's the protagonist.
Well, usually you can pick
Yeah, but
between male and
maybe
female.
that's
So I
not
wonder.
who you
Yeah.
are. Maybe that's not who you are. Maybe the person in the trailer is the new Bastila. Maybe that's the new prodigy of the
Right.
new era, and you're gonna follow her. And she discovers things, or you have to save her. Or she gets captured after the trailer. I mean, who knows? I mean, that's the part too. There's nothing there, which is almost a little
Right.
frustrating. That like they release this trailer, they get us pumped, and then they're like, "There's no team." There's
Right.
no story. We have no idea if this is even gonna. And we've already KotOR fans have already been through this shit. Like 3 years from now,
Hmm.
Disney sells off Star Wars for some reason, and it's like, oh, you know what? We got lost in the thing, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Like it's not like they're
Um,
saying, hey, this game's released, it's coming out in 8 months. Like here's gameplay footage. Like it's like, hey, the team's being assembled.
Right.
Let's hope
right.
it works out. So we can all hope, but we all need something. We need something to hope for, man. We need a new hope. You like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
New
like what
a
I
new
did there?
hope.
Did you see what I did there?
Um,
Did you
I
get
want to
it? 'Cause
pull
that's
up.
the name of the first film.
I want to pull up what Casey Hudson says. She has blue eyes. So as people are talking about her having blue eyes, did Bastila have blue? Who knows? But let's see. So Casey
love it, though.
Hudson.
That's
Yeah, hold on. Let's see. All right. Here's what I wanted to say because in KotOR 1, there was the twist, right? Again, spoiler, you find out you're Revan, right? That was massive, huge. He didn't
Jaw
he didn't
drop.
direct KotOR 2. I believe so.
gasp
Was he
out
involved?
loud moment.
Was he involved in KotOR 2 at all? Do you know?
He might have been involved, but he wasn't the director. He wasn't the producer. Like he was the director and the producer of the first game. I mean, he was pretty much that was his vision. The second game was, I mean, the second game was Obsidian. It was a different company, but he had nothing.
Right.
I'm not saying he had nothing to do with it because I don't know that for a fact. But he
Right.
was not at the same position he was in KotOR 2. Not even close.
Right. So here's what he says, ready? And here's what I hope is going to happen. So this is Casey Hudson, and I quote: "When we developed the original KotOR, we wanted to create a definitive Star Wars experience, crafting an adventure that consisted of all the things we dreamed of doing as Star Wars fans. Now, 25 years after we started work on that game, our aspirations are equally ambitious. Fate of the Old Republic represents an opportunity to explore a contemporary vision of a definitive Star Wars experience, using state-of-the-art technology and game design, and an all-new story crafted specifically to deliver on the combination of player agency and immersion in Star Wars that was the heart of KotOR." So,
Now,
just
let me-
based off what he said that
Yeah.
and all that, I hope that when he talks about that experience, the definitive Star Wars experience, he says that multiple times in that. I think he's going to put another twist in there. I think you're going to find out, oh, your Basila's, oh, the Revan was involved, or oh, your Basila's kid. I think there's going to be a big twist like that.
Listen, I would
know?
love if he has the balls to say, you know what, the MMO doesn't exist. Fuck it. I would love that. I would as much as I hated
Right.
what they did with the books. I hated
Standing
I
ovation.
hated that because the books were fucking great. I
Right.
wouldn't necessarily hate it because I don't think the MMO was great, but I would hate it I would feel like a hypocrite, I guess, a little bit. But like, I would love if he had the balls to do that. So here's the other part too, though, and it's funny that he said that because in the essays, one of the main like arguments I'm making, like the overall argument is that KotOR is the greatest game or RPG ever made. But what I keep saying is that what makes a great RPG is what I call the role-playing triangle. I probably use the term like 10 times. And I say the main part, the first side of it is immersion. The second side of it is agency. And the third side of it is identity. And what he just said in that quote, he talks about an immersive experience with player agency. He said those two words. And I again, I was writing these essays before he said that. But that's what makes these games fucking great. Star Wars, and I mentioned this, I'm not trying to pimp my essays anymore, but one of the main arguments I made right about halfway through was that Star Wars, any Star Wars game, has an immediate, not just a leg up, multiple legs up over every other game in the side of immersion, because it's the Star Wars universe. You already believe in it. You already love it. You've already loved it as a kid. They don't have to waste time with exposition explaining
You're already
things to
immersed.
You already
in it.
know what Jedi are. You already know what Sith
Right.
are. You already know what a lightsaber is, and that there's hyperspace travel and alien races. You already know all this shit. And I made a point about how Elden Ring, which I think is an all-time great game. Let's be clear. I love Elden Ring. This is not even talking shit. But one of the main marketable aspects of Elden Ring is that they said, hey, we have George R. R. Martin making our lore. And what they're essentially saying by saying that, George R. R. Martin, obviously from Game of Thrones, like obviously. So they said what they're doing by saying that is, hey, this lore is going to matter. You can invest your time reading it because it's written by someone that you know. This guy's great. You know this guy. He's awesome. Star Wars doesn't have to do that. But they are doing that by bringing in Casey, because they're saying not only is this going to be Star Wars, because Star Wars in the last few years, you don't know if that's good or bad. This is Casey's version of Star Wars. And you know that means KotOR 1. And KotOR 1 was probably, in my opinion, outside the original trilogy movies, the best Star Wars thing ever made. Book, movie, show, tabletop, RPG, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Nice, dude.
KotOR 1 is the greatest Star Wars thing ever made. So because it encapsulates everything that makes role-playing great, but everything that makes Star Wars great. And just read the essays, honestly, if you want me to explain more about that, because it's pretty definitive. But what I'm saying is the fact that he used those two terms means he fucking gets it. And we already know he gets it. But the fact that he didn't forget it in the last 20 years after he made KotOR 1. And that quote, but that what he says there gives me the most faith of any of the things I've heard so far. That this guy's in control. He understood the first time what the mission was and delivered it to a point of, I think, masterpiece, brilliance, perfection. And if he can do that again, I mean, this could save the brand. I'm not even kidding you. Like when they sold Disney for $4.2 billion, which in hindsight, with the amount of money thrown around these days for valuations,
that's pump change,
fucking peanuts.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that it was a brand that you almost couldn't mess up, and the fact that they've had some financial failures with like some of the films and some of the projects, like. This is something that just use this to come back, man. Like just make it so that no one can complain.
Right.
Do it
yes.
right. You can have, like look at KotOR 1, dude. Like it has everything that you could want, and it has everything for both sides of the aisle. Like there's someone made a good point. Like Juhani in the first game has like a storyline that probably in today's climate,
She has a great arc.
Would get thrashed because it's this is political. Like they did it so masterfully back then that no one hated it. Everyone loved it. And like that's the part where like I hope that they can just tap that same magic. I hope that they can do, like to your point about the spoiler, and I talk about this, that it's comparable to Luke, I am your father. Like when you find out that you're fucking Revan, like there's Aerith being stabbed by Sephiroth. There's Samus taking off her armor and you find out that it's a woman. And that's it. And then there's finding out you're Revan. In all of video game history, that's maybe Big Dom and Gears of War 3. You know what I mean? But that was way later. Like, I think the Revan reveal was that I wrote this out, that it was the last true gasp out loud moment in games. And if they can even get anything like that in this new game, I think we'd be pigs in shit. But I just want a good game that wraps it up. Just tie the bow. Just end the story. End Revan's story correctly.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
So here's to hoping that Fate of the Old Republic delivers. We will be covering any other videos that release on it, and I'd like to, Kernick, have you back on with any other news that releases on it we could talk about. And hey, hopefully
every time that they sneeze, when they release a tweet about something, I'll be banging your door down. Trust me, bro.
All right, good. So here's to hoping this year we can see the KotOR remake. But that might be wishful thinking. But we'll definitely be doing that. Now, I want to say you're going to be streaming full playthroughs of KotOR 1, right?
Yeah, I used to stream, like I did like charity stuff back in the day. I did like 25-hour streams where I beat the whole game in one sitting and stuff like that. So I love it. But I've actually just recently learned how to mod all by myself, and I modded the game, and now I have the most importantly,
you're like a big boy now.
Oh, big boy, doing it myself. I don't have to fly kids out from California to build me studios anymore. No, I'm just kidding. But shout out to Joe number 1. No, but I modded it, but the main thing I did, the best part is I did the difficulty mods, which is like now, because the game, for someone that's been playing it for 20 years, like it's just like meditation. You just beat it. It's not hard. But now they have these difficulty mods that go up to something that right now I'm doing a hard run just to like refresh. But then I'm going to start streaming very difficult, which is 300% damage from enemies, which is pretty tough.
Oh, wow.
And then if I beat that, I'll go to overpowering, which they say is 400%, which is pretty hard to think about. And then there's an impossible mode that has 500% enemy damage, which means like
crazy.
A Path Hound is going to be like chunking you like fucking a critical hit from Malik. So we'll see. I don't know if it can be beat. They literally describe it on the mod as unable to be beaten. Like that's what impossible means. It means it's unable to be beaten. So
right.
Okay. Either way, I'll be streaming. Yeah, I'm going to be streaming it and
cool.
You know, talking stuff. So, but yeah, I'm just getting pumped for FOTOR, man. Like I've been waiting for this for 20 years, and
yeah, dude, it's in the limelight. It's in the news now. KotOR is so hopefully
I appreciate
you got some new
stuff. I know you do video game reviews mainly, but you're doing you know, you're reviewing a video game. I guess technically it hasn't released yet, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to the actual FOTOR review when the game comes out in 16 years from now.
You know, we'll be you know, we'll be 55 and you know, nearing Medicare, you know, Social Security, and we'll review it. It'll be great.
I'll be taking out my required minimum distributions from my IRA. No, I'm just kidding. All
right, man. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, brother. We'll talk again soon.
Peace.
All right.
Hey, Dalt, may the force be with you. You like that?
No. What do you say? May your
Teresian ale be strong.
Teresian ale be strong. See, that's a deep KotOR cut.
Sarna gets fucked up on that Teresian ale. It's fucked up, man. It's good stuff. All right, cool. Good times.
All right, good stuff, man. Peace.